Welcome back to the podcast. This is part one of two, so be sure to tune in next week for the next installment. I'm super pumped because we are 7 weeks into the 8 week winter shred, and everyone is making serious progress towards their spring break bodies. They're hitting it hard, and I love seeing the dedication. The next shred will be in April, and I will put the wait list in the show notes, so be sure to get on that. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. We had volleyball in Baden, PA, or Baden, PA. Not quite sure how you say that. We also had a basketball tournament in Erie. I am still doing my cut. That will end in April, and I will have a photo shoot and a vacation. So lots of packing and tracking and having my food available as I go through this cut so that I can be successful because we are traveling a lot on the weekends for sports. So, a couple of reminders, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a single episode. One drops every Monday. This past week on my Instagram at Kelly Counts Macros, counts with a K, we celebrated Shred and Clubhouse member Debbie, who has lost 32 pounds. She went from feeling guilty and shameful with eating food to food freedom and rocking some ripped muscles, as her son said. So she was totally successful moving from the shred into the clubhouse. If you need some motivation, head over there to my Instagram and check it out. If you are interested in the clubhouse membership, please direct message me or visit my website at kellycountsmacros.com. Once again, that's counts with a K. So this past week in the Kelly Counts Macros Clubhouse, we made harissa feta yogurt sauce. And let me tell you, the feta yogurt sauce was so good. It's packed with protein. It's perfect if you are over boring chicken. I added it to my fish tacos, and boy, did it take those tacos to the next level. Clubhouse members get exclusive access to these recipes inside of the app, so you never have to scroll through social media wondering where you saved the recipe. Be sure to search for me in my Macros Plus app. Search for me under by brand and then Kelly Counts Macros to easily track all of my recipes. Clubhouse members have the added bonus of getting my full recipe book inside of the membership for easy access, but my recipes are on my social media. Last week, we also made the yummy shamrock protein shake, so be sure to check out my Instagram for that recipe. Quick favor, would you please leave me a review? I read every single one and they help me reach more people. If you haven't yet, please leave a review and hit that follow button so that you can catch the new episode every Monday. Let's change the next generation by ditching the dieting mentality. So today we are diving into a common word that is getting thrown around these days with shots and pills, Ozempic, and all the other GLP-1 meds. I realized that obesity, this epidemic that people have been trying to fix for the last 50 years, isn't obesity at its core problem. But the one thing that the clients that I'm seeing that are perimenopausal, menopausal, busy parents, obese clients struggling with weight wasn't being overweight. It is actually being under muscled. And it's the unhealthy muscle that is driving everything else. I want to be sure that everyone gets the benefit of this epiphany. Okay, I will say it again. The problem isn't that people are overweight, they have unhealthy skeletal muscle. In fact, though, it's never too late to work on this, okay? I know that together we can change the trajectory of aging. We've been trying to combat this, right? This obesity epidemic. We've looked for the last 50 plus years and we really haven't gotten anywhere. In fact, we've kind of gotten worse. And one thing I know for sure is that if you're trying to fix the problem, you'll never get there. If you are working and thinking about a problem and you're not making any improvements, then perhaps we are looking at it from a perspective that really needs adjustment. So, what I would say is that obesity in and of itself, in part, obviously, it's very complex, but a huge portion of obesity and the issues that ride alongside the obesity, like cardiovascular disease, like hypertension, like Alzheimer's, All of these common diseases that we're beginning to see more of, they're not diseases of being overweight. They're diseases of skeletal muscle first that begin decades before. I feel like the conversation about muscle and strength, of course, has been hijacked by the fitness industry, right? That's an industry that I am. But when it's an imperative aspect of living a healthier life, creating a better life for yourself, there are implications here to go way beyond the diseases and the issues that have presented themselves. So, the biggest organ in your body, most of us have ignored, and women in particular, we have been robbed of a very important, actually, your work says critical frontline habit that every single human being needs to put front and center in their lives, which is strengthening your muscles. There's no such thing as a healthy, sedentary person. Okay. There's been some research looking at 18-year-olds, healthy, sedentary college students. The research shows that these individuals were beginning to have signs of unhealthy skeletal muscle with no overt signs of being overweight. If we address this early, if we address the health of muscle, which by the way, there's really two primary ways to do that, right? Dietary protein, real nutrition planning, and then exercise strength training. You can simply build muscle if you are protein deficient by increasing the dietary protein of your nutrition plan. The other thing is when you design a nutrition plan that is protein forward, you will be able to support the health of skeletal muscle. We're not talking again about bodybuilding and slamming protein shakes. None of that is necessary. That is all good. And if that is your thing, fine. But here are some super simple, incredibly simple things that people can put into place. I realize that number one, the strategies that have been put into place have failed people. And when you focus on losing weight, which I don't know one person that hasn't done that over years and years of yo-yo dieting, you're actually destroying skeletal muscle. So as we age and become more mature, it becomes much more difficult to put it on and regain the health of skeletal muscle if you've spent years yo-yo dieting. By thinking of, I always have to lose weight, it becomes very demotivating for people. This really crazy thing that creeps in is sometimes you don't feel worthy of health, worthy of wellness in the way that potentially we want everybody to feel. So, by shifting the conversation as it relates to what people have to gain and understanding that muscle is the currency of health. And in fact, it's the only currency that you can't bargain for. You can't buy it, you can't sell it, but you have to earn it. And by thinking about the skeletal muscle, this currency you earn and put in the effort, crazy things happen. You begin to cultivate a lot of internal strength. You begin to cultivate a I can do this attitude and confidence because you're not worried about if you're going to fall and break a hip. So you're not worried about, I can't eat that. You're not worried about these other things. You have this capacity to shift to a much more positive mind frame. And it's the only thing that you also have direct control over. The last time I checked, you can't exercise your liver, but you can exercise your skeletal muscle. So, number one, like I said, it's never too late. Number two, just like people have gone through periods of yo-yo dieting. That stops today. Everybody listening to this, you are going to stop yo-yo dieting. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to leverage dietary protein. But first, let's talk about what protein is. Protein is actually not one thing. It's 20 different amino acids that make up protein. Everybody throws around these terms. Amino acids are those little teeny tiny building blocks. Think about a sandcastle and think about all the little grains it takes to build a sandcastle. If you think about the sandcastle as protein, all those little sand grains are the amino acids. This idea that protein is really imperative is important for a few reasons. Number one, protein again is made up of these 20 different amino acids. What's so fascinating about protein from the big picture is that dietary protein improves satiety, just meaning you're not hungry. So, the old test, if you're really hungry, go ahead and sit down with that chicken breast. That will tell you immediately, are you really hungry? Versus a bag of chips, and you could probably eat that forever. You are not hungry from eating dietary protein. The other reason why protein is so valuable is that it is very difficult to eat a high protein diet and actually gain fat because protein is so valuable to the body. It is what we call an essential macronutrient, meaning you can't make it. You literally cannot make it. You have to eat it. Versus carbohydrates, your body can make carbohydrates. In fact, your body can make some carbohydrates from proteins. Then the need for fat is not huge because of these amino acids that are in protein and just protein in general. It's very difficult to overconsume. It's very difficult to ultimately gain weight from a diet that is high in protein. So the main benefit is that this macronutrient or the 20 sand molecules in a protein, when you eat it, it gets used up by the body. It also makes you feel less hungry. You have this benefit of being more efficient in terms of fuel that you're putting in versus just snacking mindlessly on all this stuff that ends up getting stored somewhere in your body. There comes a time where we have to, which is exactly what we are talking about today, is we're getting it right. So there's no longer confusion and there's no longer distraction of trying to figure out what to eat or why we're eating it. Better blood sugar regulation, better energy. You'll be stronger. You'll survive longer, less disease, problems that life throws in front of you. So skeletal muscle again is the largest endocrine organ system in the body. What else skeletal muscle is? It's a nutrient sensing organ. It senses nutrients. Blows your mind, right? It actually senses the quality of the diet. It senses the protein quality, which is incredible. One of the things that happens as individuals age is that sensing protein and those amino acids decrease. So, how do you overcome that? And what does it look like when that decreases? From a very visual perspective, which looks like skinny, small, frail, elderly individuals, but you can overcome that issue and make older muscles act like younger muscles by increasing dietary protein. Number one, now you've taken an older, more mature muscle, you've increased the dietary protein intake, and you can get your skeletal muscle to respond as if you are in your 20s. What is better than that? The other thing is that healthy skeletal muscle is your metabolic disposal unit. You'll go to your yearly doctor and they'll say, here's your blood sugar, here's your triglycerides, here's your cholesterol. The biggest way you can make sure these numbers are exactly where you want them to be is by having healthy skeletal muscle. Number three, healthy skeletal muscle makes us strong and capable, which I would say arguably is the obvious. Of course, healthy skeletal muscle, it is the tissue that you leverage through exercise to improve brain health. And you want to improve your brain health. We talk about making bone healthier, but we also need to concentrate on the brain. The more you are effective and efficient at metabolizing foods, it's incredible. It also impacts the brain. So if you get your first protein meal right, you will feel better immediately. I mean, it might not be in the first 30 seconds, but after that first meal, you will have more energy. You will have better blood sugar regulation. You will feel better. We've seen it. I've seen it. I felt it. We've seen it in the literature. If you design a diet that is protein forward and balanced with carbs, meaning you're not having too many carbohydrates, so you're not going to have this huge ebb and flow and crash where all of a sudden you're reaching for cookies or donuts, which you better not be at 10 a.m. But if you were, the other aspect of that is you will not be hungry. You are using nutritional science to leverage willpower, and we all want more willpower. I think that's the really important thing to understand because the average American, by the way, the average woman is getting around maybe 60 grams of protein a day. And I recommend close to zero point 0.8, zero point 0.9, or 1 multiplied by your ideal body weight. So let's just say your ideal body weight is 138. You were aiming to hit around 138 grams of protein. Okay. Maybe you need to work up to that. Start with 100, work up to 110 and then 120, maybe even 130 grams of protein. And what I also need to tell you about is the thermic effect of food, and meaning when you eat protein, because of its impact on muscle, it increases metabolism. So, why am I going to eat 100 grams of protein? And that will be 400 calories because 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. Sometimes you will use 20% of that energy just to metabolize that protein. It would be very difficult to gain weight. It would also be difficult to gain weight. Um, you're not going to put on weight from increasing your protein. Studies show that. They've done overfeeding protein studies. Do you want to know what happens when people overeat protein? Their body comp gets better. And I know a lot of us want that. We want a better body comp. Who cares what the stupid plastic box says? We want a better body comp. We want to lose fat. So, by eating more protein, the research shows in all these studies and in the work that they've done for 20 plus years, when people focus on muscle health, resistance training, and a protein forward diet, they lose fat. They lose fat. Obviously, calories are king, right? The calories have to be controlled, but they lose fat and they gain muscle. You gain tissue, your body comp improves. We keep thinking about this in reverse. You're focused on losing fat when you should be focused on gaining muscle. And when you gain muscle, you actually lose the extra weight that you don't want. I keep thinking about the fact that you look at somebody that's sedentary or heavy and you see the extra weight that they're carrying and you think, okay, how am I going to get them healthy and do stuff so that they can get rid of that weight? What I just got is that you need to focus on building the muscle, okay? When you activate that healthy human being that is inside the unhealthy body and help them start to really strengthen their muscles, get in that resistance training, that's when you start to see the improvement emerge from the inside out. All the extra weight, all the disease, the complications. It's from insufficient muscular system. If you start with strengthening from the inside out, it takes over all the unhealthy stuff on the outside, and that's when you start to see it emerging. And if you're thinking about these before and after photos that you see in my shred and in the clubhouse and on my social media, what we're actually seeing here is healthy muscle emerging, the toned muscles. I have my air quotes out, the toned muscles. It's not about what we have to lose, but it's about what we do have to gain. It's the way of leveraging your system to create that movement that your body so desperately needs. Number one, protein. Number two, strength training. So I can't wait for you to join me next week on the second part of this. Please leave me a 5-star review. You might even hear yours on the podcast. Stop overthinking it. I know you're busy, short on time, and overwhelmed getting all this conflicting information. That's why I simplify everything for you. Join my free Facebook community. I have all of my free resources in there. 1, to set your own macros. 2, hacks to hit your protein. 3, how to drink wine and lose weight. 4, your custom roadmap to muscles. So get in the Facebook community and grab all of those under the guide section. Thank you for tuning in today. If you found this episode helpful, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Remember, it's not about the all or nothing. It's about the all or something. You're always doing better than you think you are. See you next time.